All players of Star Wars Empire at War have an appreciation somewhere in their hearts for big fleets, but within that love is contained one of the causes of something many modders have had to say over the years, regardless of what game they're modding. Once again, we've found something incredibly stupid. Back in 2020, a problem started coming up in many mods, including Thrawn's Revenge, where people were reporting that their game would just randomly freeze. No error message, no crashing, the game just locked up. And not in the way where it seems like it's paused. This was a full program is not responding freeze. With any issue like that, the hardest part is often just recreating it. Someone can run into an issue once, or even a few times, but if you don't have any debugging tools you can use for it, and you don't know the specific situation someone is reporting an issue in, there's no way to know what was going on. Luckily, with enough bodies to throw at the problem, you can start getting somewhere. Usually this means getting the biggest volunteer body you can get to keep playing until someone runs into the problem and is able to recreate it reliably, which can mean passing around a lot of saves until something happens. Luckily in this case, Triton, who I believe was a tester at the time but shortly after became a dev, was able to find out it was around when auto-resolves were happening, and our attention was turned to something we'd recently changed how we calculated, a value called AI combat power. This is a value assigned to every unit in Empire at War, and it's part of telling the AI how strong a unit is at a glance. There's no one correct way to calculate this, but in Empire at War Expanded, for example, it's a value we calculate based off of hull strength, shield strength, damage per second, fighter complements, along with some other modifiers for other capabilities. The problem is there's apparently a limit to how much power you can have in a fleet. You can literally make a fleet too strong for Empire at War. And when we redid a lot of our combat systems, we rescaled how the values were reached, leading to an issue where the value could be too big, something which was always possible, but we made far more likely with the new, higher values we were using as a baseline. This is why other mods, including earlier versions of our own mods, could run into the same issue sometimes with even less idea of what was going on, since it would have been much more rare. Whereas this version of Thrawn's Revenge, which I think was the 2.3.5 version during development, was hitting it pretty consistently in testing. The big problem when finding it was that it seemed like it only happened when the AI was getting into battles against each other, and we weren't really able to make it happen when the player was attacking or moving fleets themselves. And you might be able to see why this would make testing it very difficult, because it's entirely reliant on things the player is not doing. So even if you have a save file where you think you're able to reliably recreate it, all it takes is the AI doing something different for you to be completely out of luck. One thing a player, for example you, could do in that situation though is like and subscribe for more videos. But now that we had this new theory about what might be going on, we were able to confirm it as much as any confirmation was possible by simply changing all of the AI combat powers, dividing every value in the mod by 10, which made the issue disappear. But even this can sometimes not be enough proof of what's going on. It's easy to think you know what's happening and then run into another kind of false positive. But in this case, it also means I can easily recreate the issue by just doing a simple find and replace in Notepad, adding an extra 0 to the end of everything, and now you can see after an indeterminate amount of time, the AI puts together a fleet and goes somewhere, causing the game to lock up, which is about all we can hope for with this kind of issue. And you can tell this is one of the more annoying issues that we've run into over the years because I'm still talking about it 4 years later. But just think of how little there is to go off on this. You see the game freeze like this, and then you have to get to, oh, it's because the fleets are too big that the AI is throwing at each other. The best guess at why this would be happening is that some kind of limit was hit with variable types. In programming, every type of information you're storing is a specific type of variable, and each variable has some kind of maximum value. You may think a number is just a number, but every number can actually be one of multiple types of variable, each with a different maximum length based on how that data is stored by your computer. For example, here's a bunch of numbers for how that works with the C language on Windows. As far as we know, the values of the fleets may have exceeded these in whatever was being calculated, causing the game to lock up. Unfortunately, since we don't have full debugging capabilities, and it seemed to rely on the AI being able to do it, it would take a lot of roundabout testing to make absolutely sure of what these values are. But also, none of that explains why it wouldn't also apply to the player. That's why this has to stay strictly in the field of theory. But there you have it, that's the story of how big fleets can break Empire at War.